Hey all, Dr. Fox back here with you, and seems we have a new interesting neighbor move in, and we'll talk about that next, coming up here on the Weekend Update. I'm going to be so glad when we get a nice little segue right there and be able to edit that little piece. Dr. Fox here back with you with your Weekend Update, and I'll to expand on that little intro. A few winters ago, we were picking up little hornet nests in our shed. And I'd usually have to wait till the frigid cold of winter, or some people will use that like spray that goes right up inside of it, but I'm not comfortable doing that. So sadly, I'm going to have to wait. And this year, after finishing the roof, and I said to others, because I've had experiences with this situation before, I said, you watch, I bet by fall, by the time we get ready to seal up the underneath piece of the panels, I said, you watch, we'll have some neighbors, if you will. And sure enough, massive hive out there. That's part of what's going on with Life as well. Another thing I've been doing in Life, I thought we'd get started with Life. And I've been trying to catch up a little bit now that we've had a free weekend. And again, no one pays me for any of this stuff. I'm just talking about this one thing I do like on Sling every once in a while, a lot like what they used to do with Dish and DirecTV and some of those others that they would do in the day. And they'd have like a free preview weekend, and so they had it when the first Pennyworth episode came on, so I got to see like the first 3, and then pretty much like a couple months went by, and then all of a sudden like this weekend pops up, Epix weekend. It's EPIX, Epix weekend, and I'm like, so I've been catching up, and I'm up to about episode 8, and I know this is the week when they were showing 9, because they're showing 9 all throughout the weekend for the season premiere coming up for episode 10. And let me just say, brilliantly intelligent. And I know I'm probably quoting or sounding like a critic, but realistically and honestly, I find myself every once in a while going, brilliant, and of course that's good old Mr. Alfred. So he's just brilliant, even in his young years when he's still growing and learning a lot. He was a sharp little cookie, and I've always appreciated intellectual series to watch, and I've always thought that was just brilliant. And there's a lot of other pieces of that make it brilliant as well. And with that said, another piece of Life before we segue into retail is, I'm sure many of you already saw this and what happened. Some will think it's vindication and whatnot and other parts that go with that. But the DDoS SAT servers had some rests a few weeks ago, and I know that's old news. And I was going to actually touch on that last week, but we were so chock full of a lot of other things. I just wanted to touch on a lot of those situations. And with that said, in retail, something else that's been going on is with one of my guildies. We've been putting a lot of time in to help him, and I think as of this post, either he had finished it this morning or I was going to help him fly around and get just a few more wardens. And yeah, that tended to be those last couple was like the Dreamweavers and Wardens. And we've been grinding to get him his Legion flight. And then we started grinding through a lot of the BFA storyline for him and some of the earlier stuff. So I think, at least at that time, last night, as of this posting, and as of this recording, I should say, I think we had him at almost level 117.5 and just about ready to fly in Legion. And then we'll be able to... And if you hear some rumbling out there, Mora is trying to get Mama's attention. And I took care of it, but we'll have to take care of that after my recording if I can squeeze this in. And I thought, look, it's real life. Let's leave it in there, right? So Jennifer, if it's pronounced that way, there is a new cat that seems to be another one of those secret guild ones that they put out, and or the way that they try to find those. And it's very, very fascinating. It looks like there's a night elf that you talk to first that has some new dialogue. And then something about out where the crazy cat lady is. There's some little treats and things that are spun around there on the ground and things like that. So we'll have to kind of see how that all lays out and how that's gonna entail as well. Of course, the biggest news this past week, 8.2.5 dropped officially, and I had that feeling like it was gonna. And Yeah, there was definitely some bugs. We know that BFA is quite buggy. I've reported quite a few on that. We went back and ran an old Legion boss, and we had to actually put in a bug for that. Thankfully, they were nice enough to, because I thought for sure they'd be like, well, yeah, we see that you ran it, but you'll have to run it again. Thankfully, they were like, well, we don't normally do this, but here's the little other item you tried to pick up when your character died. And I know that tends to happen and things like that, but it was just really nice that they were willing to do that. But that's not really what I was getting at, just leading up to some of those other bugs going on. There was a new little piece of the war campaign, and there's a gorgeous cinematics. You can take it for what you will. I was actually kind of surprised, even though we were kind of wrapping it up so quickly. I was like, okay. It was very little we had to do, and I was expecting like this long out piece to sort of wrap everything up, and then no, warning, spoilers ahead. Let me just say this part, if I can try to do it without too many deep spoilers on it. Something Sylvanas has done, and many of you probably have already watched it prior to any kind of announcement like that. So it will be kind of interesting on how this unfolds, and there's always been this talk sort of more than two factions. So we'll see. Maybe, I don't know. It's speculation. There's nothing written into, and I don't know any extra secrets that you don't know. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Of course, the B mount, you can get started with that. Some thought we were starting with Bumbles. I know I thought that. But at the same time, I was sitting there going, what about with the Sea Breeze little guy? And sure enough, yep, the reports came out. You can use Sea Breeze, so a lot of people have been cashing in on getting a Sea Breeze and being able to get themselves a Sea Breeze little bumblebee there, pet, and that you can use to get that little quest change started. I'm up to the point where we need to grind out that. But the good news about that is that we found out that as you grind it, you slowly start getting more and more as you hit each of the levels of rep that you're grinding through for that. So that Honey Smasher Daily or whatnot that you can also push out. Oh, goodness sakes. Not a lot of big updates in Classic other than a few small fix bugs, that a lot of things over there. It's plugging away. We, for ourselves, I think me and a couple of my brother and a couple others were getting, I think we just hit level 22 with one of our main characters, my hunter over there, the hunter troll on the horde side. And the reason I left up this one so that you can see my character is, I hope you're all enjoying Brewfest. You can see that I've turned most of my characters. I give them the Brewfest theme. I'm so excited. I have the toy. Yes, I have the trophy. It was a grind, thankfully. It was a little bit of a struggle to get, but thanks to a guildie and a couple other options we had, you can see I got that cute little one up here on the little crown up there. It's like grass and like a pretzel almost. It's a rope. It's really cute. I thought that was very, very cute. And then you can see the tabard brew tabard there. I got all the new things this year, and I think I still had a couple of transmog pieces that didn't fully transfer over. I had from other characters, and I did it on a different on the horde side too, in a different server. And I thought there was some issue there, and I guess it took a while and some updates and whatnot. And I guess it's holding out better. So that's sort of where we're at there. I haven't really been able to do much with Classic, sadly, and I've still got my poor night elf, my main that I was going to focus on over there to stream with, and sadly, I'm just not having the time to stream. So, with everything else going on, so that has been a bit of a challenge to get through all that. You'll have to bear with me here as I'm bringing my notepad up to my head and working on that. We had a bit of a busy week last week. I'll just be glad to get to next week. And a happy official day of fall or solstice or however you want to celebrate it or whatever you'd like to call it. I know for our family, we can just consider it fall and harvest time. So happy first day of fall officially last week. If I didn't say it on my last weekend update. And yeah, I do go back and watch my updates. I'm just like, wait, did I say that? And I usually make notes, and that's why I got my notes. But that's one little specific. Anyway, I'm ranting, and I'm going on and on. Let's jump into the Q&A. Here we go. This individual asked, they just came back from Wrath, and they've now got a level 2 character. Any suggestions? Well, I know it's difficult when you don't have a lot of money right away. And one of the things I did early on was, for trying to level was, and I know there's a lot of people that aren't fond of running dungeons, especially alone. But I've done it many times. You can see here that I have started literally from level 1 on most of these. I think the only one I gave with myself was a 1 level boost, and it's actually good, I found in my experience, to try a few to level from low level first. See if you really enjoy the character. I think that's the only one I've given my level boost to, because I was trying to hurry up on my... And I wasn't really... A lot of people are, but I just wasn't a big fan of Warlock, so I think I wanted to rush her through most of it. And I would have wanted to enjoy the storyline for a lot of these, and then you've got a lot of the alts that I've unlocked. And so you can see here that I've plugged away slowly but surely at these all 120, at least on the Alliance side. And you can see I still have a couple. And what I tend to do with these lower level ones, a lot of times when the holidays come up, there's a nice little bonus there. Sometimes I'll wait till Dark Moon Fair if you don't have a lot of time to play. And you can get your 10% rep. I know it's difficult because you lose it and then you die and you're like... Especially if you try to do it with war mode on, that's very difficult. A lot will try to say leave war mode off and just try to grind dungeons, because the war mode won't make a difference in the dungeons generally. And time walking is a good time, but of course you've got to get your character leveled at this point. But for that good starting point, I think that's really good. And eventually when you can start to buy your first couple of heirloom pieces, I found that to start really making it a lot smoother and easier to not have to struggle as I leveled. But as I kept trying to constantly queue, and then in the meantime I would quest a little in between, I would run around and do the pet battles that are right near, say, Stormwind, if this is for the Alliance side. If it's for Horde, near Orgrimmar. That's just a few suggestions, just to kind of get you on your way a little bit. Hope you stay inspired and excited as much as I am. I can also show you over here on our other server that we play, at least on retail, is you can see that I do have, this is my main. I've colored her all up here for Brewfest, getting her all fancy dancy, my little demon hunter there. And then I love playing my paladin. I've actually run a few as the tank, actually. I've run a tank, and I've been holding off on that for a really long time, but I've actually been plugging away at doing that a few times, and so far so good for the most part. I tried to tank with my Death Knight, and I got literally to the first boss, and people kicked me, and I'm like, I do better as DPS. It's a 20-minute wait, and a lot of people are like, finally. So I was trying to come in, and I don't know. Anyway, I loved doing it. It went really well with the group I had. Thankfully, it was a good experience for me, or that could have turned sour. I got kicked playing with my rogue before. Just trying to give you some examples. As you can see, I've been able to level my Demon Hunter, Paladin, Death Knight, Rogue, Mage. Just got Shaman done with all the gorgeous heritage armor. You can see, look at her. This is all that beautiful heritage armor. Everything. See, it's sort of feathery there. Kind of moves around a bit. It's gorgeous stuff, I'll tell you. And because now we have the new models, you can see these gorgeous new models here. I've been slowly leveling here my Warlock. She's my engineer on this side over here, the Horde side. And I thought, this is a good time to work on that. But I've been so preoccupied helping my guildies, help them get Legion Flight. And then you can see I've got some monks here at lower levels. I tried to get everyone at least to level 20, if that gets. But I don't want to go on and on about this. I mean, I could talk about this all day. Let's see. Any suggestions on Brewfest? I found that for me, when it came to Brewfest, I literally would just run my dailies on my main on my Alliance side and one alt, and then my main over here on the Horde side, and then one alt. And that just gave me a chance to do each of the both sides. And I did the two starting dailies, and then for getting around to the portals, I found the portal room to be a huge asset for me. But if you're lower levels, then for Alliance side to have to take the tram over would be the easiest for that. But then having to go get back to those other portals, and I would have said to set your hearth back to Stormwind, come back, take the portal room, and then you might have to go out to the beach or take the boats in the early stages. But that's some of my best options for the new feeding table. Patience, time. A lot of people don't understand how to make lines, if you will. They just would hoard right in there, and whatever was available, they try to click right on it when it would fill up. When you're actually on a server, there wasn't a lot of people, and that was a little easy, and you had some struggle. If you can't find anybody, there is always the option. I hate to even say this, and I know that's expensive too. Just something to think about if you want to actually be able to try to get it, and you're coming up short, and you haven't struggled trying to find friends to play with or others. But there's a possibility you could always try the recruit friend option. Bring in one of your alt accounts at a very low level and stick them into the other chair. I know that's almost saying like, well, Dr. Fox, now I need 3 alt accounts. I can't afford that. The good news is you can do those on the trial accounts. The trial accounts will let you. I know, I've tried this. The trial accounts will come over there and sit on a seat for you. So that won't have to cost you anything. And I know this is plugging along. And Mora, Mom is coming. You can probably hear her crying out there. She says a quick hello. And let's see. Someone asked about my hair. How do I get mine done? Well, sadly, I actually went to school for cosmetology. And I know we tend to be sort of in advertisement. But right now I can't afford to do it. I can't afford to have anyone come over and work on it. I'm not able to do it myself. So what I find myself doing is sometimes I trim my bangs a little bit. The other way is I've done like what one of the other folks does, and I'll pull it upside down and I'll measure it and chop it to the best of my ability. It's not going to be perfect, linear and completely perfect generally, but I've been pretty lucky to have good skilled hands, and it seems to come out fine, and then I can kind of trim it as I need it. And that's sort of how I've had to do that. I'd love to touch up some brown just to take out that little spot of gray that's starting to come through, but and get a couple spots filled in. But it's a long story. Anyway, I don't go to anyone right now, and I can't afford to go to anyone right now. And then if someone will say otherwise, and they don't understand the circumstance. So clearly, we have to leave it at that. So I want to thank you. We're going to wrap it up. You heard Mora send her, so now I got to go get to her and figure out what's going on. And I hope you all get to have a good week. Remember to hang in there. It's a happy October, 1st of October this week. So I love watching. Ooh, spooky, as good old Hazel would say on her channel. And I'm looking forward to all that and all the fun little holiday films and other kinds of films that are out this month. Coming if you see me later in the week. And a lot of other things going on. I know it's going to be a sad month for a couple of circumstances within our family members. So that'll be a struggle and a situation near the end of the month. And then I will just hope that you can all hold in there a bit longer. And we will see you later.